began with a symbolic walk from the Kenyatta National Hospital's administration block, winding through the hospital road and culminating at the KNH Information Center grounds, a visible call for awareness, action and empathy on this year's World Haemophilia Day.
So, hemophilia is a bleeding disorder that can be acquired, which means you are born normal, or you can also get it congenitally, which means you are born with it. Majority of the times, hemophilia is a disease that you will be born with. Majority of the times, over 99% of the times, you are actually born with hemophilia. Now, the reason why people acquire hemophilia is because our ability to clot is carried by the X chromosome. And the Y chromosome just makes us men. So when you get an abnormal X from your mother, then you'll actually exhibit bleeding symptoms. And that's why we usually say hemophilia is more of a male disease. It does not mean women cannot acquire the disease.
Haemophilia, a rare, often misunderstood bleeding disorder, affects 1 in every 10,000 people globally. But behind the statistics are human stories of pain, resilience and relentless advocacy.
Niko na kijana ako na haemophilia naitwa Hamaton Kamau. Nilijua ako na haemophilia akiwa na 5 years wakati alingoka meno ya kwanza. Akableed sana, ndio nikaenda Bagavi wakanituma Kenyatta ndio nikaambiwa kuna ugonjwa fulani inaitwa hivyo, haemophilia. Tukiendelea hivyo naye msichana wangu venye alianza monthly naye akaanza. Alikuwa anaumwa na tumbo kabla hajaanza monthly. Kuendaenda msichana inatoka damu yake inatoka zaidi kuliko kipimo. Kuliko venye wasichana venye wanafaa kutoka damu. Pia yeye nikamleta Kenyatta akaanza kupewa huduma na safari ikakuwa hivyo.
It took me quite a long time to know that I have von Willebrand's disorder of blood, because when I was delivered, I used to bleed, nose bleeding, for a very long time. Until when I was in class 8, is when me and brother were hospitalized here at Kenyatta, and that was when they realized there might be a disorder of blood. But when they told us this von Willebrand's disorder of blood was in 2010. At that time, my father also, his tooth got removed and it could not clot.
Kwanza nikiwa mdogo sikuwa najua kitu inaitwa haemophilia. Nilikuwa nikiwa mgonjwa uko mtaani na natengwa kando, naambiwa usicheze na watoto wengine, ni kama mtu nimelaaniwa. Juu tulikuwa naenda hospitali naambiwa niko sawa, lakini mimi mwenyewe nikiangalia nimevimba miguu, siwezi tembea. Saa zingine nabebwa nikienda shule na marafiki zangu, wananibeba. Nikimaliza wiki moja najipata niko sawa, nalala, naamka kesho kaenda kwenda shule nimepata nimevura.
Like many others, Omoke's family once sought answers in rituals and traditional healers, unaware of the genetic blood disorder silently shaping his life.
Parent wangu mwenye alikuwa ananichunga alikuwa ananipeleka kwa hizi vitu za kienyeji. Wanajaribu kunichanja kuona shida ni wapi, lakini hatukuijua shida. Paka venye nilikuwa mkubwa kidogo nikaenda kutafuta asling zangu kwa mtaa Kibira. Unapata mabati ziko fupi na mvua ilikuwa inanyesha. So mimi nikiprepare kuenda nikatereza. Nikajikata mkono, ndio nilibleed. Bleed isimami. Nikaenda St. Mary's na wakanituma Kenyatta. Ndio nikajua ugonjwa niko nayo. So hapo ndio nilijua haemophilia.
Mary Etot, a 31-year-old mother of two from Turkana, first experienced abnormal bleeding in high school, but lack of awareness cost her dignity and education. With no information or support, her condition was misunderstood and misjudged.
Nakumbuka nikiwa kidato cha 3. Wakati nilikuwa huko, mimi nilikuwa ninatoka na hiyo damu, natoka na damu, lakini sikukuwa najua shida ni nini. Damu ilikuwa inatoka na inatoka kwa siku 7. So sikuwa najua ni nini. Mpaka kuna wakati nilifukuzwa, nikaambiwa nimeavya mimba kwa sababu damu yenye ninatoa ni damu mingi na ni ya siku nyingi. So ilikuwa mbaya kabisa, na huo wakati mimi sikukuwa najua, walimu hawakuwa najua, na pia madaktari hawakuwa wanajua ni nini kilikuwa kinaendelea.
Years later, Mary's firstborn would suffer irreversible damage. The young boy was incapacitated in 2020 due to delayed medical attention at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mimi ninatoka kaunti ya Turkana na Haemofilia ndio imenifanya nikuje hapa Nairobi. Changamoto ambayo ilinifanya nitoke Lodwar ni kwa sababu uko kaunti ya Turkana hawajui mambo ya Haemofilia. Hiyo ndio ilinifanya nikakuja hapa Nairobi kwa sababu mtoto wangu alikuwa on wheelchair. Wakasema akija Nairobi ataweza kutembea. That's why nikatoka Lodwar nikakuja hapa hivi Nairobi ili mtoto wangu aweze kutibiwa.
Incapacitation is dependent on when the first bleed occurs. The moment you start having bleeds in whatever part of the body, if you bled in the joint, for example, that joint starts getting destroyed. So the sooner we avoid further bleeds, the better for you. There is no place, even if it is not a dangerous area, any form of a bleed leads to a destructive outcome. So the sooner we disrupt those bleeds, the sooner we prevent those bleeds, the better for us.
But for warriors like Omoke, daily life remains a painful hurdle. From limited access to life-saving drugs like Factor 9 to the emotional toll of stigma, the journey for hemophilia patients is long and lonely.
Nikitaka kwenda kama choo, unajua hemophilia ina block hizi magoti na choo zetu so hizi choo zetu ni zile za kulipa, unapata watu wengi wanaenda, so lazima tafute kama mguu yangu izijikunye, inabidi utafute kitu kama slippers ama nini, uweke mkono chini na side chini, mguu ziende straight ndio uweze kujisaidia. So imekuwa challenge sana, mpaka saa zingine inabidi umekazo lakini unabidi uongoje kila mtu, na mtu asikueleze kwa nini unatembea na slippers. Inabidi uongoje kila mtu atoke ndio wewe uingie kwa choo.
There are things that we call danger signals. For example, there are people who get exposed to infections. Within an infective agent are proteins on the surface. Those proteins can mimic your clotting factors. So if the body tries to fight those proteins, they'll end up also fighting your clotting factors. And by extension, you now end up exhibiting the same symptoms that a bleeder would have, because now your clotting factor proteins have been destroyed by your own antibodies that were fighting this, foreign material in your body. If you went through a surgical procedure, and we've seen women going for a cesarean section and then they end up bleeding and they end up being bleeders because surgery is a predisposition on its own. The other one is a cancer. There are cancers that have also converted patients who are normal into bleeders.
Patients like Mary spend approximately 1,900 Kenyan shillings weekly on medical care, a steep cost that could be eased by access to Factor 9, a vital treatment that remains largely unavailable.
Mambo ya Factor 9. Factor, atupati hiyo factor, inaenda ikipotea, mpaka hata ndio mtoto wangu akue kiwete. Sikumzaa kama ni kiwete, ni kwa sababu Factor 9 ilipotea. Mimi ningeomba serikali iweze kuingilia kati mambo ya factor, ili watu weze kuweka hata sisi kwa laini, watuweke kwa laini, hata watuulizie hizo dawa, hata kama ni kutuombea, kama wanaweza kutuombea hata nje, hata pia serikali iweke mdomo yake hapo iweze kutuombea dawa, kwa sababu mambo ya dawa ndio imekuwa ngumu sana.
Factor 9, a blood clotting protein that's crucial in managing hemophilia. Without it, even the smallest of injuries can escalate to life-threatening bleeding. Yet patients say it is rarely available in public hospitals.
Haemophilia is a very interesting disease. Sometimes you don't need to be touched by anyone for you to bleed. You may just be seated, nobody has touched you, nobody has done anything to you, and you start bleeding. So yes, the disease can actually pose serious danger to one's life, especially if you have bleeds in the brain, you have bleeds in the throat, you have bleeds in the GIT, so you can bleed in any part of your body, and that becomes a huge risk to your life.
Tunaomba tu waendelee na kutuletea madawa, ndio pia wenye wako huko wajajulikana, wakijua kuna dawa, wakigundua hii ugonjwa na ajue kuna dawa, at least watajikubali.
Watoto wetu wangekuwa wanapata dawa, hawangekuwa viwete, kwa sababu wanazaliwa with normal kama watoto wengine, lakini mtoto anakuja analema kwa sababu ya kukosa dawa.
And despite the launch of the Social Health Authority SHA, patients continue to express their frustrations with the system.
SHA itusaidii. SHA ukikuja inasema inatibu inpatient. Sisi outpatient mambo ya SHA tukikuja kwa clinic tunalipa 310. Ukienda physiotherapy ambaye mimi sasa mtoto wangu anasaidiwa atembee nalipa 550. Na penye mimi natoka saa hii nina Kabiria mpaka nifike hapa juu mtoto wangu hawezi kutembea vizuri, siwezi panda matatu, ninapanda Uber, kuenda na kurudi natumia shilingi 1000. So ni shilingi 1860 natumia ndio mtoto wangu aweze kuhudumiwa kwa siku hapa Kenyatta. So imekuwa na ni kila wiki mimi nakuja hapa hivi Kenyatta. So ni changamoto kubwa.
SHA mi upande yangu mimi sioni kile inanisaidia. Juu ukikuja kama Kenyatta unataka kulipa, lazima ikitaka kusaidia lazima uadmitiwe ndio iweze kukusaidia. So mimi pande yangu sioni kile inanisaidia na kitu yoyote. Juu mimi ni mgonjwa nakuja, niekewe dawa, niende.
Na NHIF ilikuwa ikikusaidia?
NHIF ilikuwa ikinisaidia pande zingine. Lakini kama saa hii SHA ni ngumu sana juu sasa kama mimi saa hii nikisema kujitafutia pesa ya SHA, najua NHIF serikali pande nyingine ilikuwa inanilipia. Lakini saa hii SHA inabidi nijilipie.
I would request the government to also know that people with haemophilia and also these rare blood diseases like von Willebrand's use too much of money for their health, and they should also bring it in when it comes to SHA to be able to help us. Because when we come to KNH for the factors, there is money we pay for the injection, there is money we pay for to be served in different departments. And also, we would like for other women outside there not to lose babies without knowing their issue, advocacy to be done.
Like many women living with haemophilia, Mauline's journey has been marked by misdiagnosis, stigma, and late marriage due to constant rejection.
My journey in marriage has been tough because any man you will tell that you have a bleeding disorder will tell you that is sickle cell, and it will end there. And that's why I got married at 30 years. And when you're married, you are expected to have children. Getting my first baby was a challenge because I bled all through the pregnancy, and at 7 months of this pregnancy, I bled until that Nissan that I had boarded had to bring me here to this facility, and the pregnancy I had to deliver at that moment.
Beyond the physical pain lies a deep emotional toll, stigma, rejection, and isolation. The stigma being compounded by ignorance even within marriages.
Sisi wazazi ambao ni wanawake wa haemophilia, we face rejection. Tunakataliwa na mabwana, wanasema haemophilia inatoka side yetu, inatoka upande ya kwetu. So haemophilia imetuletea sisi shida nyingi kama wanawake. Kwanza mimi nilikataliwa na baba ya mtoto. Akasema yeye hiyo condition hakuna kwao. Sasa hiyo ndio changamoto ya kwanza yenye mimi napitia kabisa. Ninalea mimi mwenyewe mgonjwa wa blood disorder na nalea tena mtoto wa ambaye ako na haemophilia.
But I want to just note that you should not run away from your partner because they have a gene which they never asked for. The only reason why you are running away from this person is because your mother gave you a normal gene. So by virtue of this person having an abnormal gene, it was not out of their own calling or wish. And I want also to tell families that may be having this kind of children that there is treatment. Please do not run away. This is just like any other disease, just like someone has diabetes. Would you run away from a person who has diabetes or blood pressure? No. So it is just like any other disease that someone has, and it is manageable. So if we found the disease early, we can manage the condition early, and one should be able to live a normal life because we just replace what is missing in the body. The same way we would replace with a drug, someone who has diabetes, for example, would get a drug that helps produce insulin, and they get normalized. So it is the same thing even for hemophilia. We give you the missing clotting factor so that we normalize you.
Kenyatta National Hospital now offers free hemophilia screening, counseling and postpartum support, a key step in identifying and managing cases early, hoping to change the tide. But knowledge gaps compounded by cultural myths continue to derail care, with some conditions even linked to witchcraft.
Personally, I've passed through very many challenges because back then we were being told that we are bewitched, and it was stigmatizing. We could not understand.
According to Dr. Kibet Shikuku, nearly 40% of Kenyans' hemophilia patients seek care at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Yet a single injection can cost 50,000 Kenyan shillings, with a total treatment bill running up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings.
We work with the government, which is the biggest stakeholder, pharmaceutical companies, federations or groups that support patients with the bleeding disorders. So Kenya Haemofilia Association also works with other colleagues in other countries. We are supporting right now Uganda, Rwanda and Tanzania through KHA, through Kenya Haemofilia Association. So we work with the different groups, one to sensitize the public and two to capacity build different groups to assist with patient care. The other thing that Kenya Haemofilia Association has attempted to do is to petition Parliament for government to procure these drugs, because these drugs are expensive, and an injection, one single injection for a child is about 50,000 Kenya shillings. Where would a family get that kind of money? What properties can they sell to get care? And this is why we call upon the government to procure these drugs so that they are readily available to support and treat any bleed that could potentially cause damage.
Statistically, 1 in every 10,000 people is a potential hemophilia carrier, and even so, many remain undiagnosed.
We have very many unreached patients, and that is why I would be calling upon Kenyans to try and visit the closest healthcare facility to be either screened, because now SHA allows us to be screened. Go for your screening. Check yourself. If you are okay, that is good. If there is an underlying issue that may require further investigations, now Kenyan clinicians are aware of what bleeding disorders are. Kenya Haemofilia Association, Kenyatta National Hospital, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital and other hospitals have the capacity to diagnose this disease. And so every Kenyan should attempt to refer someone or at least be screened for a bleeding disorder and come out for care.
Hemophilia warriors, caregivers and medics are now calling on the government to amplify support, not just in policy, but in actual drug procurement and public education.
At the Apex Referral Hospital, the spotlight is on Haemophilia Day, official global commemoration that is on the 17th of April 2025. Under the theme Access for All, Women and Girls Bleed Too, Kenya has joined the rest of the world to advocate and call for awareness as well as inclusive care. According to the World Federation of Haemophilia, about 400,000 people live with haemophilia, and 25%, that is just a paltry 25%, get access to quality treatment, with girls and women often going unseen, unheard and untreated. And today the call is just on everyone, not just for medics, researchers and patients, but to everyone, to ensure that we break the stigmas and amplify the voices of those affected, to ensure that everyone living with haemophilia receive the required treatment, quality and affordable treatment. Together we can break the silence, and together we can make access a reality. Asasha Elizabeth reporting for the Catholic Focus, Capuchin TV at the Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi.